Hello, BKFK listeners. What? I hear you ask? A grown-up's voice on By Kids for Kids? How can this be? Well, you're right. This is a podcast in which all of the performers are kids. That's our golden rule, never to be broken. Well, there was that one episode we did, The Greatest Game Ever, with Stephen Fry. But how could we pass up on the opportunity to have the voice of our hero, the reader of all the Harry Potter audiobooks?
A great ruler in the East many years ago called together.
But then, who am I? I am Dan, the producer of this podcast. And today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. We've had a lot of messages asking us about how we make this podcast. An interesting question. Perhaps you'd like to know too. Well, if that's the case, let's go for it in this, the first bonus episode of our 3-part series of BKFK Behind the Scenes. But hang on a sec, what about the story? Don't worry, I promise you will continue as usual to receive a new story every 2 weeks. These episodes are bonus episodes. Okay, here we go. The History of By Kids for Kids story time. It all started a few years ago. I was, and still am, an audio producer for film, TV, radio, and podcasts. I was producing a variety of podcasts for grown-ups. My darling children, Max and Ruby, asked me what it was that I was actually doing. I explained as best I could, but then an idea occurred to me. Instead of telling them how it worked, why not produce a story with them? We weren't going to publish it or anything, but it would just be a fun experience. So we paged through some books and chose a suitable story. The 3 Bears. My daughter Ruby would narrate the story, and my son Max would do all the voices, and we would make sound effects with whatever we could find. So off we went to the studio and recorded.
So she covered herself up comfortably and lay there till she fell fast asleep.
Ruby was so small she had to stand on a chair to reach the microphone.
They thought their pod would be cool enough, so they came back home to breakfast.
But she did an excellent job. And Max had great joy performing as the Great Big Bear.
Somebody has been eating my porridge.
As the middle-sized bear.
Somebody's been eating my porridge, said the
And as the little bear.
Somebody's been eating my porridge and they've eaten it all up, said the little
And especially the naughty old woman.
The door was not fastened.
Well, we recorded and mixed and did all of our tricks, and the end product was rather good. We played it to some family and friends who were all delighted. I thought. The kids had a lot of fun doing this, and I certainly did too. Maybe we should do a few more. Maybe we should make our own podcast. So we did. But first, we would need a few more voices. To begin with, we contacted a few schools and put out a call for kids to perform with us. We auditioned kids and eventually found Lazola and Jordan, who, together with Max and Ruby, made up the founding BKFK team. Then we chose another 12 stories, most of which were popular fairy tales such as Cinderella, Hansel and Gretel, The Musicians of Bremen, and so on. Once these were done, the big day came. It was time to release the stories into the world. We came up with our name, put together some artwork, pressed all the necessary buttons and published. No social media, just put it out there and see what happens. Together we watched as our first listeners appeared. We could see a map of the world, and as people listened, we could see little icons appear on the map. It was astonishing. One in Africa, another few in America, a few more in Asia, then Australia, South America, Europe, and more and more and more. Well, that gave us all the courage we needed to bring you, our dear BKFK listeners, as many stories as we could. We have been joined by almost 40 performers from around the world. We've produced 130 episodes with more than 3 million downloads, all thanks to you, our BKFK listeners. Thank you. Well, there you go, the short history of our podcast. In our next bonus episode, we will look at the production of BKFK Storytime. Thank you for listening. Hey guys, if you like this episode, please share it with your friends and family. It is one of the best ways to support BKFK Storytime.